Hey guys, I'm excited to be back. We are talking outside today because it is the 4th of January in Texas. It should be kind of cold, but it's perfect weather. I haven't done a video in a little while, and the reason is because I'm pregnant, and for all of December, nothing sounded worse than doing anything, let alone a video. And I was so lucky that I did all my recording for the next quarter for the HA podcast in November, because then I found out I was pregnant, and December I just shut down. I was just nauseous, exhausted, nothing sounded worse. But I'm back. What I want to do is go to the pool, but what I'm going to do is this video because I'm committed to you guys and I promised I would. So I've got my notes. I want to talk a little bit about getting pregnant post HA and my situation there, and then I'm going to talk about pregnancy symptoms. So if that's really what you're here for, scouring the internet looking for pregnancy symptoms, you can skip this first part. But if you are also interested in getting pregnant post HA, here's my story. So first thing, I recovered my period after about 5-6-ish years without having a period at all. And I had my period for about 5 months before my husband and I started to actively try to get pregnant. When we did start to try to get pregnant, it took 3 months. And here's the thing, it took 3 months because we did not take the approach of have sex every day or every 2 days like a lot of people do. I was weird about it, and I had sex one time during the fertile window. I know that sounds weird, but the way that I've done everything in this HA journey, this method of there's an experiment inside of everything. Can I do this? I know I can do this. I'm curious about this. And what I wanted to see is that if everything is working right in my body, this should work. If I have sex one time, this should work. So that's the mission that I embarked on. I started to get really into, tracking my fertility. I was using the fertility awareness method, and I was learning so much about it. And I know there's a lot of people out there who tried it, and actually it wasn't working for them. And then when they switched to the having sex every 2 days throughout the whole month thing, that actually worked better for them. So that's super interesting to me. I really wanted to nail it, and I think that I did. But here's why it took 3 months to get it right. I knew that my periods weren't quite long enough. When I was tracking them, I was seeing the follicular phase look normal, the spike in my temperature, and signs of cervical mucus were indicating I have ovulated. This is confirmed. But my luteal phase was just so short. It was 6 days to 8 days, really short. And when I wasn't getting pregnant, and I was able to look at the data, and I was like, this is what I think it is, because the most obvious answer is probably the answer. So I had gotten my period back by eating more and resting more, and I had slowly started to introduce exercise and maintain exercise, and I continued to cycle. But by tracking my cycles, I was realizing they're still not 100%. It's so interesting. For me, my cycles came back in stages, right? Here's your bleed, but you're not ovulating. Now you're ovulating, but your luteal phase is really short. So I basically was just I'm going to continue with my HA recovery protocol. I'm going to continue doing what I had to do to go from having no period to a period, to go from having a period to a long enough optimal luteal phase. So I backed off exercise by a day or 2 a week, and I increased my food intake just a little bit, but more specifically, I started having breakfast earlier. When I first got my period back, a huge part of it was reintroducing breakfast into my life. No more skipping breakfast or waiting a long time. And then when I kind of assessed, all right, well, what am I doing differently to back then? I'm kind of not very hungry in the morning, so I'm holding off breakfast till 9 or 10, but I'm getting up at 6 or 7. So that's a few hours before having breakfast. So what I did differently was I started having breakfast within the hour of having gotten up out of bed. And I really think that that was a huge game changer. I think things that other people can do, aside from that, is increasing their food intake, their fats intake, and reducing coffee. When you have a little issue, like just little, like your luteal phase is just like not quite long enough, you know, start looking at the little things. But when you have no period and you're trying to get your period back to get pregnant, we look at the big rocks. But sometimes it's time to like narrow in at like, what are the little things that I can be doing? And that really made a difference, because then we got pregnant. And I am really certain that those small changes that I made were what I needed to do. And I was able to get pregnant because my body was willing to, you know, increase my luteal phase. And that's super important, because what's happening is progesterone is increasing and it's staying high in order to hold the pregnancy. If your progesterone doesn't stay high, it's not going to hold the pregnancy and you're going to get a bleed really early. So this is why I'm always saying, you know, HA, getting your period back is not just about getting a bleed. You need to be looking at the whole cycle and getting it back on track. Way too many of us think all we need is a bleed, but it's not. We need to ovulate, and we need to have long enough phases of our cycle to ensure that we're cycling properly. So like I had said, you know, I felt like if everything was working as it should, I should get pregnant. Of course, you know, at some point, if it's not working, then I would get my husband to go and check his stuff out. But if everything's working for me and for him, this should work. And that was my experience, right? So patience, being objective with the data, looking at where I can make changes that I think are gonna make a huge impact. That was really important for me. And then the other thing that I think was just the stars aligning is that this also was the first time that we had sex on the exact day of ovulation. So you don't know when you're going to ovulate really until you have ovulated. So all you can do is track the signs, right? Where around that time of the month that I usually cycle, I'm seeing cervical mucus. I haven't had a spike yet. So any of those days, you could see a spike tomorrow. We happen to have had sex the day and then the next day see the spike. So really within hours of ovulation that we had sex, and potentially that played a big role as well. Whereas the others, it was, you know, 2, 3, 4, even 5 days prior. But, you know, my HA Society sort of co-host, Ashley, she had sex with her husband. It's so funny to talk about it. She had sex with her husband like on the very first day of the fertile window being open, like 4 or 5 days before ovulation, and she still got pregnant. So that is why I say, if all is working right, a baby should be in sight. Now let's talk symptoms. I actually tested on day 7 DPO. So like I said, I had been tracking and I saw we had sex the day of, and I just felt really confident. And I told you I was having short luteal phases anywhere between 6 and 8 days, and it was day 7 and my temperature was still high. It hadn't dropped yet. So it wasn't showing signs of a short luteal phase. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna test. So I tested, and on day 7, I tested positive, a faint line, but it was definitely there, which is pretty early to test positive. I actually scoured the internet looking for other stories of people that tested positive 7 days, and nothing came up. They were all just like, y'all gotta wait 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I'm like, this is a line. And then, you know, I tested every day and it got darker and darker. But on day 7, I was so pumped and so certain that I had crushed this that I went to the doctor that day to get blood tests, and then again 2 days later, so she could just confirm for me my HCG levels were doubling. That was the only way to confirm it. So it was legit. And then by day like 14, I did have a BFP, big fat positive. So I'm listing my symptoms here. I have them noted. First one was nausea. I was a little bit queasy around DPO 14, like really early. I was immediately not feeling good for a few minutes throughout the day. And then as the days and the weeks progressed, I would be nauseous earlier in the morning for a longer period of time, and then like longer throughout the day. And it wasn't fun. I never threw up or anything like that, but I just felt not good. and also just not like myself. Reasons I was not like myself: not vibing my staples. So when they talk about aversions, they don't talk as much about just like not feeling like things that you always feel like. If you could eat it, it's not grossing you out, but you just don't want it. For me, that was coffee. At about 17 DPO, I was like, that doesn't sound good. And still, I'm 11 weeks now, still doesn't feel very good. It doesn't sound good at all. Peanut butter. I usually eat peanut butter at least 2 times a day. I go through a jar a week. Since I'm 11 weeks and I haven't finished a jar. I just am disinterested. Chocolate. I love chocolate. And I like dark chocolate. And apparently, dark chocolate's pretty good for you to have during pregnancy, thanks to the magnesium content. So I was psyched about that, but I don't really want it. If you're gonna give me chocolate, I want a chocolate milkshake. I want Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate. I don't want none of this dark chocolate nonsense. So that's a real shame. So I'd say coffee is the main aversion, because it's like I just really don't want it. But meat has been fine. I haven't wanted as much meat. Yeah. So I would say all my symptoms are like mild with the nausea, mild with the aversions. The cravings though, I've had an intense need to eat things that are generally not my staple. I've always thought of myself as someone who ate really well or whatever. And so I was like going into pregnancy, so I'm definitely going to be like eating all the most nutritious food. And no, dude, like I am doing my best, but it's just so interesting how I just want like mashed potato and gravy and KFC. I want like to dip the KFC in the mashed potato and gravy. And I want milkshakes ahoy. My very first craving was a Whataburger vanilla milkshake, and I'm usually a chocolate person. I needed this milkshake. Like if I didn't have it, I would die soon. So I just like went as fast as I could to get to Whataburger, and as soon as I finally got it in my hands, which felt like it took forever, I pulled over to the side of the road, and I just sat there with it, and I smashed the whole thing, the largest size one you can get. I almost cried. It felt so good. Like I've never felt anything as intense as it. It's kind of fun, actually, as long as you have access to food. But I certainly feel for people who might be in situations where they are pregnant and they don't have access. And then I went through like the spaghetti bolognese phase. I'm kind of still in the spag bowl phase. I need it every like 2 days. And then my need for like citrus and juice. I love juice. Just got up in the middle of the night last night, woke up and I was like, juice! Like add some lemon in there, enough to make my face go. That's the correct amount. Enough on my cravings, because that's very specific to me and everyone's will be different. I had bloat really early and then it went away. But yeah, I had around week 3-4, I experienced like all my clothes were fitting way too tight, and this really stressed me out for some reason. I just was like, I already can't fit my clothes. Like but that actually went down pretty quick. So my desire to walk and work out disappeared. I pop out of bed in the mornings and get ready with my dog, and we go for a walk every morning, and I get to listen to podcasts, and I love starting my day that way. Nothing sounds worse right now than walking, and it hasn't sounded good since the beginning, probably since week 3. I'm just thinking about it right now and I'm like, ugh. And then same with working out, it's pretty unmotivating. I'm actually feeling like I want to find a group workout situation, just because I'm just so bored working out by myself. And normally I like that, it's pretty quick, in and out. You know, working out's not my life anymore. But yeah, I mean, I usually still enjoy doing it, not so much. So that desire is gone, and I actually think there's probably a strong correlation between my lack of coffee and my lack of wanting to work out or walk in the morning. And my motivation and creativity is kind of gone. So like I said, I haven't filmed a video in all of December. I haven't really done much drawing. I haven't been, you know, as active in like marketing the HA podcast and the HA Society. I just want to crawl into a hole. But I know I gotta, you know, you can take a few weeks, you're pregnant, it's time to like relax, do what you need to do. The internet's just the internet, will always be there. Trying to crack on with things now, but definitely was a sluggish month where I was like, I want it all to go away. At week 8, I saw Bacne. So Bacne Never had it in my life. Never had acne really in my life, especially on my body. And I just turned around at week 8 and was like, whoa. It turns out it's a really common symptom. So yeah, around week 8, I got Bacne. It's kind of still there. So that's actually it for my symptoms. I saw most of them all before week 10 so far, and they've already started to subside. We'll see what second trimester symptoms have in store. But I know a lot of people that watch these types of videos are in their 2-week wait period, and they are trying to find evidence that they might be pregnant before they take the test. But yeah, if anything, I hope you see that I tested positive at day 7, and you could too. Let me know what symptoms resonate with you, where you're at in your trying to conceive, or yeah, just if anything in this video is interesting to you. I want to know, because I haven't been pregnant before, and I really want to keep the HA community at the forefront of this. And this is the HA women's baby. This is our baby together. It wasn't easy for me. I'm not worried about triggering anyone, because I know that you know that this wasn't easy. So I'm one of you. And yeah, if you like this video, or if you want more HA stuff, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. It's helpful. I'm really trying to like make as much time as I possibly can for this whole YouTube thing, and you subscribing is going to get me there. So thanks guys. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you later.